Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Edmonton Scottish United SC. My name is Adriana Martinez, and I will be your host for this fan of all the female leaders here today. And just like you, I'm here to support. Today's presentation is Rise Up, Fostering a Culture of Inclusion Among Female. Let's do a little bit of a brief on our fantastic presenters. Karli Hedlund is currently the Director of Female Development at the Scottish United Soccer Club. She grew up playing with the youth national team and played collegiately at the University of Arizona. After experiencing a career-ending injury in her first year of university, her love of the game led her to coaching. She simply wants to give back what the game has given to her and spark a love of the game and athletes that she works with. Outside of soccer, Karli enjoys spending time with her friends and family when COVID allows, spending time outdoors and playing with her two dogs, Malta and Mila. Leanne McCarthy is a stand for all people to feel safe and fully self-expressed. As the mother of two young kids who both play with Scottish United and having been a player herself for many, many years, Leanne is invested in the culture of our club. But bigger than that, having personally experienced many of the imbalances through life as a woman and female soccer player, empowering young women is an especially high priority for her. As a facilitator of conscious leadership courses, Leanne supports individuals to powerfully lead from exactly where they are to create best results and healthy environments based in self-awareness, collaboration, presence, resilience, responsiveness, and courage. She sees this as high priorities for our young female populations. All right, let's get into it. This is Rise Up, Foster Culture of Inclusion Among Females in Your Soccer Club. Enjoy.
Adriana, thank you so much. That was such an amazing introduction. And yes, we're very excited to be here and to introduce Rise Up and how you can foster a culture of inclusion among your female athletes in your soccer club. So we're just going to jump into it. So Rise Up, what is it? Rise Up is a female leadership series that is led by females for females. And really, we want to build life skills, and we want to provide a platform for our female athletes to express themselves and have a larger say in their soccer experience. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story of how Rise Up came to be. So Rise Up started at the beginning of this year, and a colleague and myself, we had a discussion about what our female athletes need and different types of female programming that we could implement. And we were both reading a book at that time called Every Moment Matters by John O'Sullivan. And he proposed a question that he thought every coach should ask their athletes. And it was, what is one thing I wish I knew wish my coach knew in order for them to coach me better? And we thought about that, and we were like, I feel like it sparked a light bulb. And we were like, well, why don't we just ask our female athletes what they need? Like, that's so much easier than just assuming that, we need to have all the answers and we need to tell them what they need. So that was kind of what sparked it all. And then the reason that I really want to share that is that it just shows that everyone else who's interested in implementing a program like this in their club, it doesn't take much. Honestly, it doesn't take many resources at all. It just takes that willingness to ask your athletes what they need. And that's all we've been doing since the start of this. And we've learned so much from them.
So just can I interrupt you here, Karli?
Yeah, of course.
Because I think you're skipping over the part where you give yourself the deserved credit, because I really want to highlight how this amazing concept came from this simple conversation and the collaborative leadership attitude that you and your colleague had so there was the call during the pandemic, how do we serve our athletes better? And it really offered the opportunity to get creative and ground level, grassroots, like what can we do with the resources that we have? And the way that I remember the conversation, because at this stage of the development of Rise Up, I was just listening in because this colleague happens to be my husband that Karli was talking to. Dave McCarthy is also a staff member at Scottish United, and I was overhearing their conversations and listening to their commitment to the athletes at Scottish United about how can they add more value during this downtime of the pandemic. And so this concept started literally as a conversation on Zoom in the living rooms of these two incredible people. And where I want to recognize Karli is that it is because of her values of being a powerful female leader and being so invested and caring so deeply. And I realize I'm putting characteristics upon you, but this is what I see you as, Karli. Just caring so deeply about the development, both as soccer players, but as young women, of the people in the club. And she sees, like, I have access to this. How do I serve them better? And so I'll let you return to your conversation, Karli, but I really did want to highlight just how remarkable, how powerful, and how idea generating that collaborative conversation can birth these fantastic ideas. So do carry on.
And the best part about that was that Leanne was actually just sitting in her kitchen while Dave and I were having this conversation, and she just couldn't help but, because she is so committed to females and empowerment and all of these important things that we seem to be lacking in sport and in life at times. And she would just like slide Dave a note or be like, okay, but what about this? Or, have we thought of this? And she couldn't help but be involved. And I'm so grateful that you are. So you've definitely made this Rise Up what it is. I couldn't have done it without you. So I'm really excited to be working with you.
Well, likewise. And you know what? Thank you for saying that. But really the power of Rise Up is the power of community. And you see all these on the slide here. We were calling this the cloud slide because it's like, well, it looks like clouds. It's lovely, but all of these ideas are what we are infusing into Rise Up. These are the values that are very important to us that we're bringing to the table. And from here, considering all of these things with the tools that we had during the pandemic, Rise Up came to be very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And I think that was another point that I wanted to make. Like, it didn't, especially since it's during a pandemic, it didn't take a ton of resources. It was really just, we have Zoom and, you invite your players on and have a discussion. And by just doing that, you can learn so much about what they really need and what they really want. And that can kind of guide the programming that you create. And they're excited about it because they can say, I helped in creating that. Mm-hmm. They're not just a part of the program and they're just not, participating in it. They created it. So I think that's, it just gives them some ownership of what they're participating in, which is important.
Yeah. And sometimes as leaders, what we forget to do is ask the people we're leading what they need and how would they like to learn and how would they like to experience soccer or whatever it is that they're a part of.
Definitely. All right. So Rise Up, why are we actually doing it? So we just want our players to have an amazing experience. And as we just said, the best way that we can do that is ask them what they need, what they want. And we want to better understand the differences between our male athletes and our female athletes. Because even though a lot of people say, oh, they're athletes, it's fine, treat them the same, it's not like that. They are different and they do require different things, different treatment at times, different, they have different preferences, and the more you talk to them, the more obvious it becomes. Why else? We want to keep more girls in the game. It always seems, ever since I played, that around 15 years old, 16 years old, girls start dropping out. And we figured that hopefully with Rise Up or a program like that, we can keep more girls in the game because they're enjoying their experience more. And it's more than just soccer. It's also about the friendships that they have and the culture of the club, the culture of the team that they're a part of. So we just want more girls in the game. We want them to have a lifelong love of activity and of soccer. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is when they're 50 years old, are they still active? Are they still, maybe coaching or maybe playing? You never know. Mm-hmm. And then to create more female leaders. So especially our 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, if they have an interest in coaching, we want to support that. So we want to provide them with that mentorship, with leadership training, and allow them opportunities to start coaching at that age. So it's an easy transition from player to coach. Maybe if they decide, I don't want to play anymore at 18, you never know, but I do want to coach. So we want to provide, or maybe they're still playing, but they also want to coach. So we just want that easy transition from player to coach. And we've already been working on that. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I just would like to add to that a little bit too, is that often I feel with our youth, when they can, they have an idea of maybe they have an idea of what they can do with their lives, or they want to be professional soccer players, but sometimes there's a gap between where I'm at and where I'd like to go. And one of the things that we're creating with the community of female athletes within Scottish United is for them to be able to have communication with and access to the older players, and each age down and each age down and each age up and each age up, so that when they see each other at the Dome, which is a magnificent place to host our community, they can say hello to each other, or they can see, like, this person went through the same journey that I'm already on, and so then I can get to where they're at. And having these role models within the community is really, really powerful. And so what Rise Up is doing is it's essentially layering the leadership so that the almost like the increments of becoming better leaders are a little bit smaller, a little bit more tangible, and they resonate. The girls can see themselves becoming the next step of leadership, and the next step of, maybe it's as an assistant coach, maybe it's in a summer camp, maybe it's as a head coach, maybe it's as a staff member with Scottish United, they can see that for themselves when they have more exposure to it.
All right, and lastly, we've already touched on it, was just we want to build skills that not only serve them in soccer, but also in life. So again, we just want to create good people at the end of the day.
Happy people.
Good, happy people. Yeah. So I'm going to pass this one on to Leanne, and she's just going to talk about how Rise Up actually works.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, the premise was, we had limited resources and a big dream, and how do we bring this together and make it work? So where we started was with Zoom, and how we can gather many girls together on Zoom at one time. It's convenient, and we set a date, and we chose the first Sunday of every month at the same time, knowing that it will occasionally conflict with training times, but if we try to keep it as regular as possible, that there would be a consistent awareness of it. So all female Scottish athletes can participate. It's on these Rise Up calls where we're speaking to the athletes, we keep it to the females only. So to the athletes only. So we're only speaking to the young female athletes. We have girls from 6 who have participated up to the age of 18. And it's so interesting because on each call, the whole range, the 6-year-olds have, they've commented, the 18-year-olds have commented, the 10-year-olds, 14, like every age group is represented and every age group has participated, which is really interesting and powerful and exciting. So with keeping it completely a female athlete specific meeting, our intention is to create a safe space, and we don't record it. And I take notes, but not name specific. So simply what they say. And then, we take that information afterward and share it with our coaches. So far we've had 4 of these conversations. So we've been doing this for just over 4 months. And we will go over the topics and what we learned from each of the topics, which is very interesting. The girls are magnificent. They're incredible thinkers, and they're so insightful. Both Karli and I have noted several times how much we actually learn from them, as much as I think that they learn from us. We've gotten great feedback too. And the discussion is very open. So for the most part, we ask a question and let them answer. And most often, we run out of time before we can get to all of the answers. That's how eager they are to participate. So they desire to be heard. They want to be heard. They have things to say, which is very exciting. So that is where we're at with Rise Up currently. We were also doing, when we had more downtime, when we were locked down a little bit more, the Rise Up Round Table. And so those recordings can be found on the YouTube channel. I'm not sure where that's headed in the future. Those were interesting if you want to learn a little bit more. But where we're looking toward in the future, keeping with the momentum that we've built up, there's the possibility of all girls summer camps, which I think we have the 2 thumbs up for, but then also more leadership training, coach mentorship programs, trying to decipher, which groups need specific leadership training and how that will help them become that layered leader for the other age groups in the club. So that's sort of what we're looking forward to coming up, hopefully in the coming months soon. So Karli, if you would you like to go over topic number 1, the first thing that we talked about that came directly from that John O'Sullivan? The question came from that John O'Sullivan book. What was it called again?
Every Moment Matters. Every
Moment Matters, yes. So this was our first topic.
And highly recommended if you haven't read it. Really, really good book. So yes, our first topic, what do coaches need to know about me that will help them provide me with the best possible soccer experience? So again, that was pretty much taken directly from the book. And I was excited for this because it was just my curiosity. I was like, how have we never thought of this? How have I never asked my athletes this? So the key takeaways, they want to be coached with respect, kindness, and compassion. So they don't want to be yelled at. And that came up a lot. So they want to feel safe. They want to feel that they can make mistakes. They want to feel that it's somewhere where they're not only valued, but encouraged to be themselves and to try things. And I feel like it was a very old school, outdated method, the whole screaming and yelling. And I know I dealt with that as a player at times. And we need to realize that things change. Time changes, and we need to change with the times. The other thing is they want a positive team and club culture. So again, they want to feel welcome at their club, welcome when they show up to training. They want to be greeted by their coaches and their teammates. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. They want to, again, be able to act like themselves. They don't have to try to be someone else. They can be exactly who they are. And then lastly, soccer is social. And this is something that came up, again, it continues to come up, I think, in every conversation that we've had. And I think this is possibly one of the main differences between our females and males. Not that males don't value, the social side of the game, because they do, but females really value it. They want to be with their friends. They want to have time to socialize. They love tournaments because they're with their friends. They love, team outings and team bonding and all of those things. And we need to create more experiences where they get to have that social time. If it's, hey, show up 30 minutes before practice, you guys can talk whatever you want, just have your social time. And then, okay, when practice starts. And maybe it's after practice too. But you have to cater towards them because this is what they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Karli, just before we move on to topic 2, do you remember you had listened to a podcast that got you very excited right before we went into the first meeting with this, our very first meeting with Rise Up. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because you mentioned the old way of leadership and it not working anymore. And then with Rise Up, and we see how maybe this is creating a new form of leadership.
Yes. So that podcast. So it was Abby Wambach. She was on, what was her name again?
Brené Brown.
Yes, Brené Brown's. She holds a podcast, and it was so good. So again, another thing that you should go listen to if you haven't. And Abby Wambach just talks about, again, how things have changed and how, again, like in her past, things were done, but that there's a new way to do things that works a lot better than what we've done in the past. And for example, what are some of the things? Like,
well,
I just remember.
In the interest of time, Karli, we could, if we get into this conversation, I just know that we could talk about it for a really long time because we have already. Yeah. But maybe just for the interest of time, Abby Wambach's book, Wolfpack, was the inspiration for the podcast. So I would recommend listening to the podcast, but read the book. It is powerful.
And also, we do talk about this a little bit on one of our Rise Up roundtables. I think it was our first one. So if you are interested, you can just go and find that on Fitba TV.
Yeah, I think we actually talked about it for quite a while, little bits here and there. But so our second topic that we talked about with the girls was, what do you look forward to the most when you come to soccer? And when we're between seasons, what is it that you miss, or what is it that you're the most excited about when a new season starts? And the themes that came from that, there were quite a few, but the ones that came most prominently were the social aspect again, friendships, definitely. Soccer is a great place to release and connect and feel like they belong. Building character was another one that came out. The girls saw themselves as having the opportunity to be leaders and mentors and role models for their siblings, for their teammates, for younger players within the club. I just loved seeing or hearing that from the girls, the life lessons that they learned, their determination, learning from mistakes. And then the fourth one was improvement in soccer. So they very much love soccer, love learning, but love socializing and love expressing themselves and love discovering who they are in soccer. One of the things that we do, we try and bring some, like we encourage the most engagement as possible. For the first couple of meetings, we didn't have a chat function. It was a technological glitch we were figuring out. And so what we asked them to do in this second meeting is to have a piece of paper and to write on the end of the meeting, write a message, something that they got out of the call, or something that they, like an aha moment that they had during that particular session. And there were some incredible messages. So some of them were like, girls can do anything. Follow your dreams. Capability is a mindset. It's okay to make mistakes. And another comment, that everyone's comments were relatable. So regardless of age, each girl was relating to what the other was saying, which is just affirmation, reaffirmation that Rise Up is really important and it's significant to our players and it's making a difference for them. So I really loved hearing that feedback from them. And another thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to say this before, so I'm just going to sneak it in right here, is that at the end of every session, we always pick a song that kind of has something to do with the topic that we're talking about. So at the end, as they're thinking about their final takeaways, you know, we play this song and you can see them kind of bopping along, which is a little bit fun because music is a great connector. So anyway, that aside, Karli, would you like to go carry on with topic number 3?
All right, so topic number 3, we asked them, what is courage? When have you experienced yourself being courageous? And we realized that it's fear that prevents our players from being courageous. So they're scared of failing, of rejection, of judgment, you know, looking silly, being laughed at, things like that. And I think the most important thing is that we provide them an environment where they feel like they can make mistakes, that, you know, it's safe to try things, and, you know, it might not always work, but they feel comfortable enough and they trust you enough and they trust their teammates to, again, try and be courageous and do things that scare them. And it was interesting because at the end of that call, we wanted to celebrate them being courageous. So anytime that they have been courageous in the past, we talked about it and we celebrated it. And so many of them, one, they're just so happy and proud of themselves when they did something that they were scared of, and they felt that they were more confident. So once they did it once, they felt that they could do it again, or they want to try something new, or they want to try something that scares them because of that feeling they got from doing it, even when they were afraid. So if we want our players, we want them to be these courageous, strong, compassionate people, we have to help a little bit. We have to provide them that little bit of encouragement, and just set the environment for them to be those people that they already are. They just need that chance to be them. So I think those are the biggest takeaways that we got from our courage discussion.
Our topic number 4, we asked what they've learned over this past year, specific to the pandemic, how it's affecting their lives, and what role has soccer played in respect to the pandemic. And we learned that kids need soccer right now more than ever because they don't have a lot connecting them to each other. They're missing those normal activities in their lives, like, you know, birthday parties and sleepovers and going shopping with their friends and meeting up with their grandparents and being outside of the house and being surrounded by people. And they cherish that opportunity to be at soccer and to connect and to express themselves and relieve some of that tension that they're feeling, because they really are dealing with a lot right now. And they were able to communicate to us that, you know, they are stressed. They're resilient, sure, and they are stressed and they are feeling the heaviness of the pandemic. So soccer has become almost even more important for some of them, and even more important that it's fun. And I know that we have a lot of restrictions on the types of things that we can do right now. So really using as many resources as possible, connecting with other coaches, discovering new ways to create the environments at soccer. For those of us, we're off the field again right now, but when we get back on, to really foster that safe environment of self-expression and fun and social connection, because those broken connections they're hard for our girls, for our kids to be dealing with right now. So yeah, they're really wanting to be out and have some normalcy. And so if we can create normalcy at a social distance within soccer and have fun, then that's really, really important for them. And they are dealing with a lot of different emotions. Some of them are feeling a little bit scared. They're worried about COVID. Some are feeling disappointment. Some are feeling mentally tired. They're dealing with a lot of ups and downs in their lives. And some of them are hopeful. Most of them are doing whatever it needs to be done to stay positive. But being mindful that don't just brush it off and say, kids are resilient. They're dealing with stuff. And so, they need us right now.
Thank you, Leanne.
Yeah.
All right, so that is all we have for today's presentation. We just wanted to put up our contact information. If you have any questions that come up later that you want to ask us, or you just want to connect and talk a little bit more about Rise Up or anything else for that matter, feel free to reach out to us, and we're always open to a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That was fantastic. Thank you, Karli and Leanne. Those questions are so awesome. You need to start collecting all these and write a book soon because the responses are incredible. I think the one that caught me is when one of your players said capabilities of mindset. That is incredible. That right there is just incredible. And for them to say that to you, I don't just reflects on how awesome people you are, Karli and Leanne, to these female players and just Scottish as a club in general. So congratulations. And I love Rise Up and I've been following it. So really great job. Really, really great job. All right. We have a few questions. Yeah. The first one is, if someone wants to start this program in their own club, how can they go about that? And would Scottish be willing to assist them in setting that up?
Oh, call us.
Oh, call us. Go back to the contact. Okay, for whoever asked this question. Yeah, email Karli and Leanne. Yes, we would totally help you. So that was a good response.
Easy as that.
Awesome. Yeah, easy as that. Perfect. Okay, question number 2 then. This program is currently for all female athletes in the club. Is there a point where you might divide the younger athletes from older ones with perhaps different content?
Yeah, so we've talked about this, and there's definitely, depending on the content, moments that we will divide them. But for the first part of Rise Up, we really wanted to try and create a community. And we wanted the girls to really get to know each other from 6 years old to 18-year-olds, and for them to be able to, see each other at the Dome and recognize each other. And, we have some 18-year-old coaches who coach a lot of, the 10-year-olds, the 9-year-olds. So we just thought it would be cool to create that culture first. And then depending on the topic, we might have times where we split them up.
Totally. Yeah. And I love that response. And I remember, I think it was Leanne who mentioned that there's a little bit of gaps between clubs, right? And a lot of people don't have that immediate mentor, right? And I think this is the way that you're doing it, is that everyone's in their little environment and they have a mentor role model in that environment versus, someone who's so far displaced from them. So good job. I love that.
Well, there's so many moments where I say, sorry, Adriana. There's so many clubs and, we've been guilty of this too, where it's just your team, like you just worry about your team. It's all about your team. And it's really hard to have a club culture if one team doesn't know the next team. And so for us to kind of build this culture where we want we want our younger players to go watch our older players and vice versa. And we want our older players to coach our younger players. So the only way that we can do that is for them to kind of broaden their horizons and see that, it's more than just yourself and it's more than just your team. There's a lot of other things out there, and that they can have an impact on more people than just themselves.
I would like to add something too. I think that, like, coming from the conversation of this creating community at our club and female retention within soccer, and then going on to being coaches and keeping that female presence within the sport, it's not as hard to leave a team as it is to leave a community. So if you feel a really strong connection to the people who are surrounding you beyond your team, like, a strong team culture is very powerful and it's very important. But how much stronger is that when it goes beyond the team culture? You have a club culture, you have a female athlete culture, you're recognized and seen and heard within your club in a way that you haven't really experienced in many other parts of your life. That will feel really good. That will be a rich environment for girls to develop themselves and discover themselves within. And we really want to create that safe space of really rich community feel, so that they want to stay with Scottish, so that they're Scottish, so that they're soccer players for life, but even like Scottish athletes for life, and moving on up to the Angels when that's appropriate. So that's a big part of it too.
I love that. Thank you, Leanne. So that's a good little segue, because I have my own question here of, I think Scottish players are so lucky that they have that dome. Like you said, Leanne, that dome is just, that environment is just incredible. As soon as you walk in, and not right now, obviously, but before, you'd walk in and you'd see all the teams and you'd see coaches and you'd run into other players. Do you have advice for other clubs that don't have, that dome or that one central location on how they can create that culture and that environment without the physical location?
I think that, for example, it's not just about having a facility and an area to gather. It's also, like, we do this through Zoom, and it's very easy for us to connect hundreds of people together just from their own house. So it's not about the facility. You can even, if you are setting up training times at City Field, and go back to back to back, and do it strategically, maybe where it's a younger team to a little bit older, maybe all the girls are training back to back to back. And, if you have older coaches that are coaching a team, have their younger team right before their training session. So we still do things like that with our group, and we would do that even if we weren't at the Dome. Because it's about seeing each other, yes, but you don't have to do that at the Dome. You can do that anywhere. You just have to have some strategic planning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Asking, like, sitting down at a table with other female leaders and saying, well, what can we do? What is it possible for us to do? And during the pandemic, sure, there's fewer things, but as these restrictions lift and maybe we can start gathering in person, maybe it's an intra-club female athlete symposium for 3 hours on a Saturday, and you all come together and do some fun activities or exercises or leadership games, or have a barbecue. There's just so many different ways to create that social environment, because remember, going back to what the girls said, social for them is social. Like, would a bowling afternoon kind of sounds ridiculous, but the point is, get them together and get them interacting and get them having fun together, and that will create environment and culture and community. And then when they go on the field, it will just translate to higher productivity and more connection.
And the other thing with that is tournaments, once we're allowed to do those again, rather than having teams go to a variety of different tournaments, can you select a few different tournaments where you're like, hey, as a club, we're going to go to this tournament? And that's like such a huge club culture building experience where, you know, you can have teams from U13 to U19 all together going to this tournament. And I know we wanted to do that right before the pandemic started, and we had it planned to go to Vancouver with all these teams. And yeah, that's because then it's not just your team again. It's about, hey, oh, I know so-and-so on that team, and I know so-and-so on that team, and I'm excited to hang out with them as well. And same with the coaches. It builds a good culture with the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. And
intentionally
go ahead,
normalizing the conversation about being community and collaborating and not being in competition with other females or other like healthy competition on the field. Sure, that's not what I'm talking about, but being more willing to talk about leading everybody from where you are. This is something we talk about, and we've talked about it in Rise Up, and this is something I talk about a lot in my own work, is leading from exactly where you are and making it very clear that one of the values of our community is togetherness and that we're better together. And so getting that into normal conversation so that it feels a lot safer and a lot more okay. Like, this is just what we do here. We talk to each other and we high five. You know, I'm going on the field and you're going off.
Totally. I love that. And I think consistency is key, right? You know, a lot of clubs will just go and be like, yeah, I had an event this year, one event this year. And I think what Scottish does so well is that it's consistent. You're right. You do this all the time. It's not just the one-off event or the one-off tournament. It's all the time. You're consistently thinking about this when you're planning and doing your strategy for the year. Is that accurate?
I think that's definitely a value that we're all growing into.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have 2 more minutes, but I have one more question. I know we're talking about female inclusion, but I think one of the most important parts is, you know, female inclusion isn't just about within females, it's about within the whole environment. And that includes our male friends. What are some of the activities that you like to do so that, you know, your female athletes are included with our male players as well?
I remember before COVID, we would have games against, I think it was like the police service in Edmonton. And they were really excited about it. They'd get, you know, all their policemen and policewomen create a soccer team, and we would combine our female and male PDP teams into one team and allow them to either separate games or combine and do just kind of like a really big pickup game. And I know that they love that so much, just having that time to kind of, like, we don't want to keep the females and males completely separate. Like, it's about team club culture in all aspects. And I think other things are like summer camps. When we were doing them, we still do combined summer camps, and we have male and female coaches and male and female athletes. So there's like a lot of opportunities where we're all together as a club.
I would like to identify and reiterate too, like, how important our male allies are in supporting our young women. And we have some phenomenal men leaders in our club and male athlete leaders in our club. And we do all learn together, and we do all have to create this new leadership culture together. And that's part of it, absolutely. And I mean, there's a starting point, and right now our starting point is where we're at. Yeah. And it will grow too.
That's awesome. Well, that's our time, everyone. Thank you so much, Karli and Leanne, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Game Changers Women in Soccer Symposium, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'll see you all later. Bye.
Thanks so much, Adriana.
Thanks, Karli.
Thank
It was
you.
nice meeting you both. See you.
Nice to meet you.